Hi, my name is Luwayo Biswick, and I would like to talk a little bit about permaculture guilds in practice. We read these in books, but I would like to showcase to you how these guilds work. And this word guild is a term which refers to a group of people working together towards a similar goal, but the same word is also applied in permaculture when we are putting together all the elements in mutual harmony to create these balanced and resilient systems. Now we have 7 universal components of a guild. Wherever you go, it doesn't matter whether it's in the tropics, the arid, and then the temperate region, you still have all these 7 components, and these components are the same components found in the natural systems. The first thing you have to consider when you're establishing your system, you have to think about food, because that's the only difficult thing that people think it lasts. They think about trees, they plant glass, they plant ornamental flowers, but they forget to plant food. They plant food at last. In permaculture, we first think about our own food, establishing systems that gives us the food we need. On the food, I mean a diverse range of food. For example, in here, we have pigeon peas. Pigeon peas is in the group of the beans. And then we have cocoyam here. Cocoyam gives us the leaves as vegetables and the roots we eat. Behind me, we have papayas, fruits. And then we have lima beans. We eat lima beans as beans. And then we have passion fruit. And then we have spiky cucumbers here. And then we have cassava here. And then we have local yams there. We have air potatoes. And then we have pumpkins. We have blackjack, local okra, sweet potatoes, soya beans, nitrogen fixing trees. And then we also have citrus like lemons and oranges and maples and Mexican apple. All these things has to be considered. So that's the first thing, the first component in a guild system. The second thing is you have to think about the soil, because if you are to harvest your food, you are going to harvest your food in the soil. So you have to feed your soil first. So we talk about all these nitrogen fixing things. For example, all these beans, like pigeon peas, soya beans over there, and then these acacia trees, sunflowers, and then we have acacia alata. All these things, they live in a symbiotic relationship with rhizobium bacteria, and that bacteria helps to fix nitrogen in the soil. And that way, we are feeding our soil. So we are considering about food for the soil. In the natural systems, there is no compost made. So we make compost because our soil is diseased. We want to heal our soil. But by incorporating all these nitrogen fixing trees in our system, that way you are providing food for your soil. And again, the third thing is we think about the climbers to make use of the space wisely, so we can grow food up in the air using a vertical space in permaculture. If you use a horizontal space, you end up losing too much space. But if you're using these vines that climbs up onto trees and the terraces, you're using a vertical space. So here I have examples of the climbers. Have lima beans here, local yam here, cocoyam, and the pumpkins are climbing onto the trees too. So these are examples of the climbers. But the climbers like to climb onto trees. They need something as a supporter. So that's a fourth component in permaculture, supporters. You know, so we have all these trees, like a papaya tree is supporting the lima bean and is also supporting the local yam. And then here you have a sorghum bicolor supporting the lima bean, and here I have acacia tree supporting cucumbers. So after the climbers, we also think about the diggers, because we want our soil to be soft. If you dig too much, you expose the soil microbes, the soil biology, to bad conditions. So by nature, in the natural systems, there are principles that are used And then those principles are those principles that use the diggers to dig the soil instead of turning the soil. If you use a tractor, if you use the hose, you turn the soil, you expose the soil microorganisms, you disturb the soil aggregates, and then you disturb the structure, the texture. We don't need that in permaculture. We just need natural diggers. So we have cocoyam. It has roots that digs. Have cassava here. It has roots. Digs have sweet potatoes. It has roots. And it digs. All these trees has roots. And then those roots digs. Then after the diggers, we have the ground covers to protect our soil against direct sunlight. If you expose your soil, you lose the nutrients. The soil becomes prone to erosion. And then you can't harvest water. All the water will run down the stream. We think about all these things that can cover the ground to protect the soil against sunlight. Because in Malawi there is this habit of sweeping. So when people are sweeping, it's like scabbing off the wound. The soil is already diseased, it's already wounded, and then you're scabbing off the wound. Once it's healing, you're scabbing off the wound. No, we need to put the ground covers to protect the wound, to protect the soil. So here we have mulching, we're using mulching, and all these crops, they are creating a layer that all these leaves are protecting the sunlight from reaching the bottom, from reaching the soil directly. So we have sweet potatoes covering the ground too, and all these things, because they are shedding, they also act as a ground cover. So ground cover doesn't necessarily or only mean the mulching or just the sweet potato, but anything that can protect the sun from reaching the bottom. That's a ground cover. It's covering. It's a cover crop. Then we have protectors. In permaculture, everything performs a specific function. Now, that function is supported by many things found in the natural systems. And again, those functions benefits the rest of the system. So we need to protect our system, of course, from like pests or insects from destroying our crops. We don't want to kill, because what happens in the conventional agriculture, they poison the food to kill the insect instead of poisoning the insect to kill the insect. So in permaculture, we don't poison our food to kill the insect, and we don't kill the insects, because if all the insects die, our system will not be in balance. So we just scare them away. So by mixing, by diversifying everything, you bring back the biodiversity, both of these microorganisms and macroorganisms, and that way you put them in balance, and then in that balance they control each other, and then you don't have pest problems. And that's how things work in a guild system. And again, we also put aromatic plants. Anything that has aroma scares away the insects. For example, here we have marigold right here. This is marigold. If you just plant marigold, it scares away nematodes. And then marigold is one of the aromatic plants. It also scares away any of these insects, because the insects find their food using one of their sense organs, the nose. So they smell, and then they can sense out if there is something edible, palatable to them. So by putting these aromatic plants, you're scaring them, you're confusing them. They get confused, not killed. I mean, it's not about killing. It's about creating a conducive environment for all these things. So that's how a guild works. So if you put all the things in a guild system, like this system, you have things using different layers. And one fun thing is that in schools we are taught to say, if you plant a lot of things together, you have light competition and food competition. No, in permaculture, in the natural systems, what happens is that if you see a plant like this one spreading the leaves, that's an indication that the roots are also spreading the same. If you have a plant going this way, that's an indication that it has a tap root. If the branches are spreading sideways, it's an indication that it has the roots that are spreading both ways. So that way, if a plant is too tall, it's an indication that it has deep roots. If a plant is short, it's an indication that it has short roots. I mean, that way, like Then at the bottom, you have the roots feeding at different depth. And then on top, you have the branches using different layers. That way you don't have light competition and food competition. That's a good system works. Thank you very much. I hope this makes sense to you.